Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning to learn what the Dynamics SL Sunset will mean for you. My name is Michelle Chesser, and I'm one of the customer account managers here at Quisitive, along with Marian Hartka. Today, we'll be reviewing what to expect as Microsoft ends mainstream support for Dynamics SL in January 2024. Our presenter today is Jeff Vonasek. Jeff has 30 years of experience in ERP systems and is certified in Dynamics GP, SL, Business Central, Uninet, and Sage Intacct. The agenda for today is understanding the Microsoft SL product roadmap, what will happen to your Dynamics SL system. We'll discuss what is extended support. Then we'll talk about what the benefits are of cloud ERP systems and how you can transition to a cloud ERP. We'll talk about our Quisitive Fast Path program, and then we'll have some time for Q&A, and we'll discuss next steps. And now, without further delay, I'm going to turn this over to Jeff. Jeff, you can take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And I look forward to spending the next hour or less with you in discussing what's happening with Dynamics SL and what your choices are. Let's start with the roadmap of Dynamics SL. So many of you who have been customers of ours for a number of years may have seen this graphic of the different releases of Dynamics SL. We are currently on release 2018. It is the last major release of Dynamics SL. I do want you to notice here that there's nothing listed out beyond 2019. Microsoft purposely did that, and that explains a little bit about their vision about the future and roadmap of Dynamics SL. So let's just talk a little bit about that. So Microsoft has announced that SL 2018 is the last major release of Dynamics SL, and that the product is in its end life cycle. Now, what that means is that on January 9th of 2024, mainstream support will end for Microsoft Dynamics SL. Now, mainstream support means that there will be no more updates to the software. They will provide no additional releases. There will be no updates, no new feature packs, no new service packs, no new build fixes or patches, and you will be unable to purchase any new users, any new software within inside of the Dynamics SL chain if you currently have it right now. So it goes out of mainstream support as it begins the final stages of its life end. On that date, Dynamics SL moves to what Microsoft calls extended support. And extended support will continue for Dynamics SL through July 11th, 2028. Extended support means that Microsoft, upon its discretion, when it determines that there's a security vulnerability with the latest version of the product, they will patch that, they will address that so that it becomes and maintains a secure product. It is at their discretion, so they determine those security flaws that are that require those updates. And you must be on an active support plan as a customer to be able to receive these patches and updates. So the maintenance fee that you're paying, if you are paying a fee right now, will continue through that 2028 timeframe so that you can receive those patches and updates. After July 11th of 2028, there will be no more updates at all. And the product is completely unsupported from Microsoft, not even in extended support. So it goes completely out and has complete ending of its life cycle. So what's going to happen to your Dynamics SL system on the 10th of 2024? Oops, excuse me, after 2024, it looks like I got a date wrong there. Well, it's going to continue to run just as it has been running right now. So if you are running Dynamics SL, chances are you've been running it for many, many years, and it has been running fairly problem-free for those years, and will continue to do so. And so there's no concern about the product just stop working that next day. It'll continue to work, and it gives you time to decide what your next steps are going to be and how you might be able to transition. I also want to assure you that Quisitive's commitment to you, our Dynamics SL customers, remains the same. We'll continue to support you as long as we possibly can, and as long as we are able to do and provide that function effectively. So support for SL from a Quisitive perspective does not change. We continue to provide that support for you. What are the risks associated with SL ending its life cycle? Well, the first one is there's no additional users or modules. So if your company grows, if there's new feature functionality you need to add to it to meet your new business needs, you'll be unable to do so because Microsoft is barring you from doing so. There will be no more 1099 updates. So the updates that's coming out late December this year will be the very last 1099 updates, which means that for 1099s in 2024, you'll have to find other means if you continue to use Dynamics SL. You'll have to find other means to be able to produce your 1099s. Now, many of our customers use third-party products. There's some fairly inexpensive products out on the web that can generate 1099s for you. And you can extract data out of Dynamics SL that feed those systems so that you can generate those. And so we can help you with that if you find yourself in that situation. There will also be no payroll updates after January. So payroll taxes, end of year forms, there'll be no updates for those. And that's a bit more of a concern because I think it's impractical to consider continuing using payroll system beyond that system if it's Dynamics SL's payroll system. Of course, as we said before, no fixes or bug fixes. So if you find a problem that the software doesn't function properly, we help you identify it. We'll go to Microsoft and say, sorry, product's at the end of life cycle, fix the data and move on. And that's what we'll have to do. We'll have to end up sort of creating a workaround and or fixing whatever data issues were resulting from that bug and having you stay away from that problem. Your support costs will increase over this time. So your maintenance fee does not go away. It maintains to be able to stay on extended support. And of course, the support that we provide you continues to increase in costs. So those costs will continue to increase for you as well. The one large risk to consider is that the operating systems and the version of SQL that you are running Dynamics SL on may become unsupported. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about Windows Server. So SL 2018 is supported only under certain versions of Windows Server and only under certain versions of Microsoft SQL Server. Now those versions today are all supported and they'll be supported for a few years to come. But after that period of time, those products will not be supported by Microsoft. Again, meaning Microsoft's not going to provide the security patches and updates to make those products secure, and that your vulnerability will increase then because you won't be on the latest and greatest. And something I want to mention is that we've had some clients when they're not on the supported version of the product, that the auditors can write a note about that, dinging them, essentially saying you're not on a supported version of the accounting system. So just something to consider and think about. So to summarize, Dynamics SL 2018 is the last major release. The last updates are coming out the end of this fall. Generally, they come out December 15th and beyond, and that's for 1099 updates for this year. In January 4th of 2004, Dynamics SL goes into extended support and will be supported through 2028, or at least July 11th, 2028. And of course, Quisitive's commitment to you as a Dynamics SL customer remains. We'll continue to support Dynamics SL and you for as long as we possibly can. So let's take a look at where we are in the evolution of ERP systems, and these are automated ERP systems. Of course, this all started, the automation of accounting solutions started with mainframe and mini computers in the 60s and 70s. This is a big step forward in taking what was a paper-based system and automating that process. However, those systems were fairly expensive, required constant maintenance and care and feeding, and were controlled typically by the IT organizations within departments within inside your organization. In the 80s and 90s, we saw the advent of PC computers and also client server systems. And this liberated us from the mainframe and the IT departments to allow us to run accounting systems on our own local PC or to network them together so that we could share them throughout the entire organization. But these systems were local. They required a fair amount of care and feeding. Software updates were painful and risky because anytime you installed an update, it might break something that you had customized or fixed in the past. And it required planning for upgrades. So that most of our clients typically didn't upgrade every year. They upgraded once every 3 years or so, so that they could delay that cost, which was a significant cost to consider because we need to do all the planning and preparation and testing and making sure the systems maintained their functionality. In the 90s and early 2000s, we moved or began to offer hosted or multi-instance versions of our accounting software, essentially taking the client server network you had internally and moving it to a series of hosted servers in the web. Now the benefits here were outsourcing that hardware. So now your workstation merely had to be a Windows workstation to be it could have connectivity to the internet to be able to run Dynamics SL. Didn't have to be as beefy as it had to be in the past. You didn't have to worry about all of the processing power because all that processing power is really being housed in the hosting system and really sharing that data with you on your workstation. But it was still our client server-based solutions, meaning we had to build out an environment in the hosting environment to have servers and workstations. And so the technology didn't really change. And all that care and feeding was all now handled by your hosting provider. Starting in the 2000s, early 2000s and moving forward, the industry introduced a multi-tenant cloud solutions. And so these are solutions in which everybody shares the same source code, the same code, the same version of whatever the ERP system is, and it's being housed by the manufacturer. Allowing the manufacturer to do that meant that we could introduce the idea of automatic upgrades, and they provided solutions and ways that you could do upgrades without impacting any customizations or upgrades you may have done. And these were done, and they are done regularly by the manufacturer, which meant that there was rapid delivery of new feature and functionality because the manufacturer was always making sure you were on the latest and greatest version of it. They created systems of easy integration, allowing you to integrate other systems to your cloud-based solutions. These are typically API interfaces, and they're standardized. And they're also guaranteed to be backwardly compatible, which means that anything you integrate now will be compatible in the next and future release of your cloud-based ERP system. And there, of course, was the ability of the economies of scale of being able to provide feature functionality across multiple customers. So given the fact that Dynamics SL is an end of life, and next step is going to be moving to a cloud-based solution, which cloud-based solutions really have been the industry standard for us, is really the state of the industry for the past 5 or 6 years. 9 out of 10 new solutions have all been cloud-based solutions, and we're not just seeing this in ERP systems. You're seeing it in really every system that you use in your business operations. When is the best time to migrate is the question. So our answer to that question is now. For more than 30 years, I've worked with Dynamics SL in its different versions. It started with the Solomon, PC-based or DOS-based, and migrated to the Windows, and migrated to client server, and migrated hosted systems. And I'm very proud of the fact that I helped my clients build their businesses, and it has helped me build my business to provide services to you, our customers. And I thank you very much for being our customers. But in thinking about the solution, the architecture is really an 80s architecture. It is outdated, and it is incapable of handling the new feature functionality and the processing power for that new feature functionality that is now coming out in ERP systems. And so this is the reason why I believe Microsoft has decided to sunset all of their client server based solutions, including Dynamics SL. It's because they can't really provide the feature functionality that you will want, that customers are now demanding in the future when they're all client server technology. So we think now is the time for you to think about positioning your company's financial system for the next 30 years. Now, maybe not all of you run SL for 30 years, but for the next however many years, your organization will be in its current state and thinking about its growth. A favorite quote of mine about Charles Darwin is really just about adapting. Adapting is the most important aspect, and we realize that this is a change and we need to adapt to it. So we wanted to share with you some of the feedback we get from our customers about what cloud-based ERP solutions are providing them. And it boils down into these categories. We'll touch them one at a time. So the first is total cost of ownership. Now, cloud-based solutions are provided on a software as a service basis, meaning you pay for the features and the number of users on an annual basis for what you want to use. It's a pay-as-you-go model. And in that pay-as-you-go model, what's wrapped up into that is providing support for the solution, providing 24/7 uptime with a 99.9% reliability, doing upgrades, security patches. You know, the systems that we represent today, cloud-based solutions, are backed by armies of engineers who secure and harden those systems to make sure that they will stay up 24/7. And so there's another area where we leverage it. Microsoft, for example, one of the products spends over $1 billion a year just in securing their Azure environment, which one of the products we're going to talk about today sits on. So all that is wrapped up in that software as a service or subscription fee that you pay every year. And so when you think about what your on-premises solution looks like, the software licensing is actually one of the smallest fees. It's the customization, it's the hardware, it's the IT personnel, it's the maintenance training. Those things all need to be considered in thinking about the total cost of ownership is, and how to relate that against ERP cloud-based solutions. Keep in mind that you forego the initial purchase when you go to a software as a service, meaning you pay that service fee every year. You don't have to buy the software outright, so you can use those funds for furthering your business and whatever your mission or objective is. And also we remove that once every 3-year fee of doing an upgrade, because upgrades happen automatically for you. And they happen on a quarterly basis generally, and that new feature functionality is available to you. We also are seeing reduced implementation costs for these systems. So these systems are taking advantage of the best of the last 30 years of PC-based solutions and combining that with the best of internet or cloud-based systems, whatever they might be. And what I mean to say is that when a new employee sits down and looks at a screen in these systems, they intuitively know what it is that they need to do. I challenge you, take a new employee, somebody you hired maybe a few years out of college, and sit them down in front of Dynamics SL and have them compare it to a cloud-based ERP, and they will point out to you very quickly the differences in ease of use and understanding the product. Now, SL is a very feature-rich product. There's a lot built into it, but you needed to know how those feature functionalities worked, and we had to do a fair amount of training to get our customers to a point where they were comfortable in operating the systems. So systems we found were just easier to implement because they were more intuitive, more straightforward. We didn't have to worry about configuration. All these things come directly out of the system. We just fire up the system once a new instance is created for you, and you pick up and go. So that's a major benefit. And then finally, our customers like the way that cloud-based ERP systems turn what are variable costs for them, not knowing what their cost is going to be on a year-to-year basis, really into a fixed cost. They know every year what their cost is going to be because the subscription price is what the subscription price is. In addition to that, scalability and on-demand scalability comes. So if your business cycle has peaks where you have lots of activity and then troughs where it's fairly slow, these cloud-based solutions are continuously monitoring your usage and continuously adding more power when you need it so that you can have the processing power to meet the cycle of your business. So considering a transition to a cloud-based ERP, our approach to this is as follows. And so keep in mind that cloud-based ERP solutions, all of the solutions today, are not the next generation of Dynamics SL. They are new systems that have been built specifically for the cloud with new feature functionality. We'll touch on a little bit of that today. But these are essentially things that your team needs to understand and learn how to use and operate. So we take an approach of discovery, understanding how you're using Dynamics SL today, what works well, what doesn't work well. Design, then taking those requirements and identifying the best feature functionality inside of the next generation system, building that and testing that to ensure that we get the desired result. Training and deploying that, so training your customers and then your employees, and then deploying that so that the system is ready to go for live, and then providing support afterwards, as we always have for Microsoft Dynamics SL. It looks a little bit like this, and so these are a little bit of some of the roles and the way it works. But it's a 6-phase approach that's been very successful for us in implementing solutions, and we're sure it'll be successful for you as well. So let's talk a little bit about some options that you have today to consider. Now, we represent the following two products. The following two products we believe are class leader products. They are always found on the top lists of customer satisfaction. They're supported by the major manufacturers. One is Sage Intacct. Sage Intacct is in fact the world's largest accounting software firm. Many people who have used Sage Fixed Assets understands that. But Sage was many more than just Sage Fixed Assets. It was Sage MAS 90, it was Sage Peachtree, it was Sage 300. There's lots of different versions of it. And so Sage Intacct is the cloud-based solution provided inside of that family. The other product we want to take a look at is Microsoft Business Central, which is Microsoft's next generation product. It is built for the cloud only and has the following feature functionality. Business Central. First thing you'll notice is that it has a modern user interface. So again, they've updated the interface to meet current standards. It has a series of financial reporting tools that are primarily built off an account and a dimensional-based system. We'll touch on dimensions a little bit later, because this concept of dimensions is ubiquitous through all of the cloud-based ERP solutions. It also uses a chart of accounts with a single segment and a dimensional structure. Its strengths traditionally are distribution warehousing organizations with a complete feature set of distribution. Its other strengths are integrating into the other Microsoft products in the Microsoft environment. When I say that, I'm talking about the Microsoft Azure environment. That includes things like Excel and Word and Power BI and Flow. All of the tools that the Microsoft environment provides, this product integrates very tightly with, because of course it's built in that particular environment. And also has a series of mobile apps that allow you to do processing on the go based upon roles that are useful in using mobile elements, for example, warehousing and/or staff providing services to your customers. Sage Intacct was born in the cloud, started in 2001 as a cloud-only solution, never offered on-premise, built specifically for the cloud. It is an all-in-one platform that is a best-of-breed solutions with an open architecture that allows other applications to integrate with it using APIs. It has core financials of general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, all the other good stuff. But it is generally the platform, the basis of your financial system. Some of its strengths include a multi-tenant architecture. So the idea of every client is running the same version of the software at the same time, and that means that every client has the benefits of the latest feature functionality of the software. Also, it uses that clean single chart of account structure, just like you have in Dynamics SL, and a dimensional-based reporting beyond that. So your natural chart of accounts and then dimensions that make up the rest of your coding. It has a very powerful financial report writer and a dashboard report writer to distribute financials, and also to provide a mechanism by which someone can land into the accounting system and get a quick picture of the health of the organization and determine maybe where their energies should be focused that day. It also has strengths in multi-entity and intercompany natively built into the system. So if you've got multiple companies that are doing transactions between each other, and the do tos or do froms need to be created, a lot of our SL customers were doing that. This is very, very strong here as well. And is very strong in the nonprofit and professional services industry, with a series of financial reports that are pre-built for those industries based upon templates that have been built with inside of Sage Intacct. And it has a very strong Salesforce integration as well. So let's talk a little bit about that dimensionality and what this means, because this is a sea change in all of the ERP solutions that we talk about. Both Business Central and Sage Intacct have this concept of a natural account that lives unto itself, just like you do in SL today. So your natural accounts, and quite often our customers who migrate from SL to one of these products will use the same chart of accounts. If it's been serving them well, they'll build the same chart of accounts inside of the cloud ERP. Dimensions are ways to dimensionalize each and every transaction. In SL, we used to call these things sub-accounts. So in your sub-account, you have a one or many segment sub-account, and each one of those segments may represent something about your organization or something that you want to try to track about the organization. So dimensions are typically things like location or department, program, restriction, project, grant, employee, vendor, customer, that sort of stuff. And so in these cloud-based solutions, you use these dimensions to code each transaction to gather that information so that you can do reporting off of them. So you can do reporting by department, you can do reporting by project, you can do reporting by a customer or by an employee. So think of dimensions as the functional replacement of your sub-accounts. The difference is that dimensions are individual fields, so you have individual fields for dimensions, whereas your sub-account, excuse me, was really one field, multi-segmented, broken into multiple segments. So we just break out that sub-account into the multiple segments, that dimensions, excuse me, that make up your cloud-based ERP solution. This is something that we help you work with in understanding the way your sub-accounts have been working in Dynamics SL in the past. How can we improve upon that with some of the new dimensions? So you'll notice there's some new dimensions that are typically not found in SL's general ledger, like customers and vendors. That data flows into the GL because of those dimensional characteristics, and we help then translate that data from Dynamics SL into the cloud-based ERP solution. What is that? What's putting that to the pedal or putting that out to show how it can use it is then used for reporting. And dimensional values being carried down to the general ledger allows you to do dimensional reporting at the general ledger. What does that mean? That means that my financial report writer can be my basic report writing tool in the system. Now, this is important, I think, because most of my customers are very comfortable with using the financial report writer. But if you ask them to go into, say, Crystal and write a new vendor report out of Crystal, they're not so comfortable with that. However, if I'm gathering the vendor information and pushing it into the general ledger, I could write a financial report off of vendors if I wanted to find out who my top vendors are, what kind of vendor spend am I doing over a period of time, and so on and so forth. So that's really the sea change, which is pushing all that information down in the general ledger so you can use it as part of your financial report writing tool. It really expands the use of a financial report writing tool. It becomes both a financial reporting tool, but a general purpose reporting tool as well. Dashboards are used extensively throughout both the systems. Again, that dashboard is a place for you to land. Typically, dashboards are role-based. And then we expose onto those dashboards elements that help the person in that role understand what the health of their part of the organization is, how it's performing, and what they might necessarily need to do. So dashboards include things like key indicators. How am I doing in net income month over month? Financial reports. I'd like to see a balance sheet when I get to the top. Looking at specific accounts, like how's my cash account balance, or graphs and charts. And so dashboards are the way that we visually represent the performance of the organization for the role, so that role can then, the person playing that role can then determine what their next steps might need to be. We have put together here at Quisitive a fast path to the cloud ERP solution for those customers who are interested in moving to the cloud quickly. Typically, an implementation for us runs 3 to 6 months, depending on the scale modules that are being implemented. But we have boiled it down to a series of essential steps to get you to the cloud. So if you need and want to get to the cloud quickly, we can do it in 3 months' time. We're doing this because we're leveraging our expertise in Dynamics SL. We've been working with SL for over 30 years. We understand all the feature functionality of it. We know how to assess how you're using it, what's working for you and what's not working for you, and then determine what is the best feature in the next product, whether it be Business Central or Sage Intacct, because we're experts in that product as well. So we really play that role in translating the way it was in SL into the way it needs to be in Business Central or Sage Intacct. We've also built over a number of years templates and tools to help us migrate your data. So you can migrate more data or as much data as you might necessarily want to, and then templates to speed the implementation. So this fast path implementation takes this process here and turns it into 3 months for go live if you want to. Now, you don't have to accept FastPath, or maybe you can take a version of FastPath with some other pieces as well. But FastPath is a way we can get you to a cloud-based solution in 3 months. So, as stated before, the best time is to transition. We think is now. Again, Microsoft Dynamics SL help customers build their business, but it really is time to change. Microsoft has determined the life end cycle of the product. We've got a few years to work it through before it becomes very risky. The operating systems and SQL Server that SL is running on will not be supported. And now is the time to change. Not sure what is the right solution to go to, whether it be Business Central or Sage Intacct. That's okay, we're here to help you for that. So we do provide a migration assessment where we assess your current system and then identify what those requirements are for the future-based system, and then line them up against the functionality of the new software, whether it be Sage Intacct or Business Central. And that's something we can help you with. If you have already decided and you're ready to go, also don't hesitate to reach out to our customer service representatives or customer account managers to help you then plan that next transition. So let's take a few questions from the audience. And I believe, Michelle, you're going to have people submit their questions via the chat. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. So just a reminder, we have some time for some Q&A, and if you'd like to enter your questions in the questions box on the GoToWebinar, we can get those answered for you. Okay, looks like the questions are coming in. Can you talk a little bit about the AP module in both of these systems?
Sure. So Both systems have in their core functionality accounts payable. Both systems also, in their core functionality have purchasing, which can feed into accounts payable, although it's not necessary, for purchasing. There is new feature functionality in accounts payable. Both systems automatically, for example, will create ACH files to pay your vendors, whereas in Dynamics SL it required a third-party product. These are that's a native functionality inside of both these products. Both products also will print on blank check stock for you. Again, that was a third-party product. This is native functionality to both systems, including signatures on blank check stock if you want signatures as well. Both systems have workflow capability built into them, meaning you can enter an AP bill and then submit it for approval through different workflows. Again, this is new feature functionality over top what SL would have provided. And then both systems have, I would say, similar functionality from the standpoint of aging and reporting in the accounts payable systems. They both feed into General Ledger, just like SL does. I think they represent the advancements of accounts payable and AP functionality that we've seen over the last 20 or 30 years.
Thank you. Next question, does Sage Intacct provide a project management module for government contractors specifically?
Sage Intacct does have a project series. It has use for organizations that are grant-funded organizations, say in the government contracting arena. If you're a government contracting organization that is providing professional services to the federal government, for example, you may want to consider an alternate product, which we represent here as well. It's a product called Uninet that you might want to consider. I would suggest that whoever asked that question spend some time with your customer account manager, discuss what your needs are, and then we can help steer you in the direction of what is the right product for you.
Thank you. Next question is, how about reporting and data extraction? I like the quick query feature in SL because I can pull any data based on different criteria. Anything in these cloud systems that is comparable to that?
Yes, both systems have got similar functionality. Inside of Business Central, there are something called web queries that allow you to build a query of the data that you want to extract and then extract that directly into Microsoft Excel, for example. Inside of Sage Intacct, there are lists that you can build and you can export those lists to Excel. So essentially extracting them data directly out into Excel. Both products have a custom report writer similar to, well, I wouldn't say similar. Both have a custom report writer that's easier than I would say Crystal was. And your ability to simply build a report of, say, transactional data to be able to extract whatever your particular need is.
Thank you. Does Business Central have web-based timekeeping, and is it compliant for DCAA time requirements?
The answer is no. Business Central is not, it does have web-based timekeeping, I should say that, but it is not compliant for government contracting solutions. Whoever asked that question, I think you should spend some time with our customer account manager, again, to talk about what your requirements are and discuss what the right next product is for you.
Next question here, what about intercompany transactions? For, yeah, I think for the new solutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk about Sage Intacct first. So Sage Intacct has native intercompany functionality. That is to say, similar to the way SL worked, you set up a table of a from and a to company, and you identify what the GL accounts are going to be used to balance a transaction. when a journal or an entry is deemed to transact or cross two different companies, that's the term I'm looking for, cross two different companies, it goes back to that table to determine what the due tos and due froms are to balance out those entries. And that happens automatically in real time, just like Dynamics SL does it. Business Central has intercompany functionality, but it is a little bit more removed. Each company is housed in its own company database, I should say, which means that it has separate chart of accounts, separate vendors, separate customers, that sort of stuff. You set up the relationships between the two different companies, and when you do an intercompany transaction, it queues it up for a month-end process where you extract those entries out of one company and import them into the other to balance out the due tos and due froms.
Next question, do either software platforms have interfaces with third-party payroll companies like Paycom?
The answer is yes, both companies do. The integrations really need to be taken on a case-by-case basis, but both of these products are two of the top leading products out there. So companies like Paycom, ADP, and other services have written their own integrations directly into these systems. They do that because these systems provide APIs out of the box. When Dynamics SL was released, there were not APIs out of the box. So Paycom couldn't integrate to SL, right directly to SL unless they were SL experts, which they weren't. But both these systems provide APIs. It stands for Application Programming Interfaces, and they're standard interfaces between two systems. And the manufacturers have chosen to write their own integrations to Business Central and to Sage Intacct because they can write to an API. They understand and know that. So you'll find that really on a case-by-case basis. Look at the product. Look at look at the payroll service provider, and find the integration that provider's included.
Next question. We have multiple overseas offices that are now in SL as independent databases and as a consolidated database in addition to the headquarter database. Are these products, do these products support those multiple companies that headquarters can have control over and updating as needed for chart of accounts and adjusting entries?
The answer is yes. So both of these solutions are cloud-based solutions, meaning you access them from a browser, whatever that browser might be. And it's independent of the type of browser. So if you're an Apple fan and you're using the Apple browser, you can use that. If you're a Microsoft fan and using Edge, you can use that browser as well. If you like Chrome, whatever it is, all the browsers are supported. Being available on the cloud, that means that accessibility to it means you just have to have a reliable internet connection. And that internet connection can be here, it can be in Europe, it can be in Asia, it can be at home, wherever you necessarily are, you can have access. Now, there is very secure sign-in capabilities. So for example, you can require multi-factor authentication, which means that when somebody signs in, they need a company, a user, and a password, and then they may get a text message on their cell phone. They may get a Microsoft Authenticator request to further or to choose a second identification or second form of identification that this user is a valid user. You can build that functionality as well. And then finally, you can make it very secure by whitelisting IPs, which essentially says only these computers are allowed to sign into our system. And that's creating a very secure environment from that perspective. But that means that your overseas folks can do their business, and then your US-based folks can oversee their systems and do updates as necessary to their systems, adding accounts and dimensions, things like that.
Thank you, Jeff. Another question here, do either of these platforms work with Management Reporter, the report writer that's used with Dynamics SL?
Excellent question. The answer is no. Management Reporter has been sunsetted. So Microsoft really hasn't added any updates to that for quite some time now. However, there is a third-party product called FYISoft that has the look and feel of Management Reporter. So if you really love the way FRX worked, or you love the way Management Reporter works, we would steer you towards FYISoft as your financial report writer. There's Scuttlebutt, and I'll just call it Scuttlebutt, that when Microsoft sunsetted Management Reporter, part of that team broke off of Microsoft and founded this company called FYISoft. And that, in my mind, explains why it looks so much like, but isn't. It can't be, of course, right? It looks so much like and functions so much like Management Reporter. So many of our customers that are coming from SL and have heavy and extensive financial reports in Management Reporter are very pleased with the FYISoft product. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I think that might be all of the questions. We do have a few more minutes if anybody has some additional questions and wants to enter them in the question box. Just checking to make sure I got them all. A lot of great questions today. So I think we covered all of them. Just a reminder, if we missed any of your questions or you have additional ones, please feel free to reach out to us and we will get those answered for you. And we wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. We thank you for being clients of Quisitive, and we wanted to keep you informed of Microsoft ending mainstream support for Dynamics SL in January, and to remind you that we are here to support you and to help you as you evaluate the next generation software. We will be following up with the recording from this webinar, and here are our emails. Again, please feel free to reach out to us with any questions, or if you would like to evaluate either of the solutions that Jeff reviewed today. Thanks everyone, and have a great afternoon.